going on today, Dallas Cowboys fans, Cowboy Nation everywhere? The Dallas Cowboys find themselves in a situation where we're still trying to figure out what is going on with the quarterback position. Up to now, Dak Prescott has not gotten that extension, and again, he said he wants to be a Dallas Cowboy. The front office has said Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones. We know these are always guys trying to be master manipulating negotiators. They want every dollar they can back if they can. Find themselves in that situation, but Dak Prescott has not signed an extension. The Cowboys have not given him one yet. So, and obviously it's coming in the air. Dak Prescott has pretty much let it be known he is not afraid to go take his talents elsewhere. If he feels the Cowboys are just not going to give him what he's looking for, the rest of his team, his agent and whatever, he said he has no fear going to play for another franchise, but he also wants to remain a Dallas Cowboy for the remainder of his career. That is, again, that's something to just throw in the air, because we're also looking at a guy that the Dallas Cowboys brought in with a 4th-round pick from the San Francisco 49ers, Trey Lance. 4th-round pick, which is definitely a pick the Cowboys I'm sure would have loved to have in this past draft. That probably would have allowed us to get that running back we were looking for. But bringing in Trey Lance, I still feel to this day, was more of a negotiation tactic by this front office. You're looking at a guy, maybe you say, hey, he has some of this talent. Maybe he's not what you are yet right now, Dak Prescott, but we believe he has the arm, he has the foot speed, he has the all-around game that we feel like we can kind of mold him with the right QB coach, with the right offensive coordinator, with the right head coach. And we're talking about Trey Lance. Now, I believe his 5th-year option was just declined by the Cowboys in the last day or so. And I believe that was about $22.5 million he would have been guaranteed and owed, and the Cowboys feel probably they can resign him for way cheaper if that's the route they choose to take, because he doesn't have much on film. Yes, you can talk about potential, we can talk about what he can do, what we believe he can do, what other teams may believe he can do, but you're not necessarily going to see a guy like that get the complete bag thrown at him without much to actually show for it. So I feel like the Cowboys are still going to be trying to use these tactics. We have Trey Lance on the roster still. He's going to be a guy we're going to be able to look to if Dak Prescott does not choose to resign. I think that's the way that probably the front office is looking at it. Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, that's not even the case. But the point of Dak Prescott, I believe last year with top 3 in MVP voting, and it could be arguably his greatest season. I believe over 4,500 yards, 36 touchdown passes, only 9 interceptions. Only Robin a few seasons ago, I believe he had about 4,400 yards. 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So Dak Prescott has shown himself to be a very capable quarterback in this league. A guy that he has more than 200 passing touchdowns, about 74 interceptions. Again, this is not a guy that's turnover prone. That's why it was the narrative that was kind of being thrown around all last offseason was kind of, I guess you want to say, completely just idiotic to me, because that was never the case. We never worried about Dak Prescott turning the ball over in like just complete droves like that. But the biggest question about Dak Prescott has always been when postseason comes, or we're playing against the better teams. And I've seen Dak Prescott play well during some very good teams during the regular season. But when the postseason comes, whether it's all on Dak Prescott, whether it's just the scheme, whether it's coaching not being up to par, we have always seemed to come up short a little bit when the postseason comes around with Dak Prescott as quarterback. I'm not putting it on him. Let's be clear. I'm just saying Dak Prescott has been our quarterback when things have come up short in the postseason, when we've had high expectations. This is now the 3rd time in a year, 3rd season in a row that Dallas Cowboys have won 12 games. We have got to get over that hump. Is Dak Prescott the guy that the Cowboys are going to be looking to? Is it going to be a guy like Trey Lance? Are they going to possibly be looking around to move around for the draft type situation? We already say Jerry and Steven, they say they want Dak Prescott to be here. He says he wants to be here, but he's not afraid to go anywhere else. So we'll have to just keep our eyes on this QB situation, because it's going to be very sticky the further and further we get and nothing is done or nothing seems imminent. There are going to be lots of chatter. Where is Dak Prescott going to end up? Are the Cowboys ready to move on? We already know how the national media does, local media too sometimes, but the national media especially. And it's always going to be focused completely on the negatives. Don't pay too much against the positive. And when you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, you should come into the situation already knowing you're going to have the most eyes on you. That doesn't mean you're the best quarterback in the league. You have your Pat Mahomes, those type guys. But you're talking about Dak Prescott. When you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, all eyes are going to be on you. So we have got to figure out why we keep coming up short, and this has got to be the start of the change, because we cannot continue to say, we won 12 games, but then have nothing to show for it at the end of the regular season, or at the end of the season overall. Also, returning back, finally, of course, this is already in the air at this point. Everyone knows Ezekiel Elliott has made his return to the Dallas Dallas Cowboys, longtime Dallas Cowboy, I believe sitting by 8,900 yards, almost touching 10,000 for his career, and I'm sure he would love to get that done as a Dallas Cowboy. We already know he was pretty much the guy that was pretty much running our offense from 2016, I want to say maybe to even 2019, about that range. That's about the point where Dak Prescott started to elevate just a little bit of his game, where we don't have to fully rely on just Zeke Elliott setting the tone, and Dak playing off of that. Talking about a two-time, should have been three-time league rushing champ in Ezekiel Elliott. This is a guy that's played more of a dual role last season with the New England Patriots. And again, a lot of people were talking about the yards per carry down, things like that. That Patriots team was not very good. And obviously, I don't think Zeke is what he used to be, because we're talking about you have lots of tread on those tires now. This is not anything where you're talking about a guy's coming in fresh, he doesn't play much. This is a guy that was pretty much your horse through high school, through college at Ohio State. Obviously, that's what made him a top 4 pick for the Dallas Cowboys. And then in the NFL, we're talking about many touches, whether it's in a passing game, whether it's in a running game. Ezekiel has lots of tread on those tires, so it doesn't have much tread on those tires if you're talking about the grand scheme, of what we're looking for from a running back consistently. Will McClay came out and said this is going to be looked up, and that I guess our running back situation is going to be used more as a running back committee. And that to me means you're going to kind of ride the hot hand. Whoever you feel has got it going that day, if it is an Ezekiel Elliott, you're going to continue to let him tote the rock. But Zeke Elliott, he has a lot to prove. That's one thing I will probably give. I guess you want to say, if you look at any positives, he has a lot to prove. He knows people are looking at him. He knows a lot of people are expecting him to fail. So this is going to be a new situation. And in talking about a new situation, a new era for Zeke Elliott, he changes his number from 21. I believe that first day of practice he spent in that 21 jersey. But now it's officially confirmed he's going to move. That jersey number is changing to number 15. We were talking about going back to his high school and college days. That is what Ezekiel Elliott has been used to rocking, especially last year. I believe he donned that for the first time for the New England Patriots. So we're going to see a new era of Ezekiel Elliott. Is it going to be a good era? Is it going to be a bad era? We don't know. But the Cowboys did not, I guess, really be able to hit on that running back position during this offseason and free agency, a trade market, or the draft. So Zeke Elliott right now, and talking about as of today, I don't think that you can necessarily just write off any other moves or changes coming in that running back room. But as of right now, Zeke Elliott is your best guy because he has the most consistency. And we're talking about a guy that just has the most awareness and experience in this league, and especially talking about being a top guy in this league. So Ezekiel Elliott is going to be a guy that I'm going to keep lots of eyes on as this offseason continues to go on. We're talking about getting into the situation where you're looking at now rookie mini camps are going to be coming up, and then you're talking about getting the teams around each other, voluntary workouts right now. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Ezekiel Elliott going into next season. Then when you're talking about, obviously, the number one thing after maybe your quarterback you're looking at for the Cowboys now specifically, what is going on with this CeeDee Lamb contract? To me, yeah, you might have gotten yourself in trouble as the Cowboys front office because you maybe underestimated how exactly CeeDee Lamb was going to continue to play and just the growth and the progression he's shown year after year after year. But now you're kind of pigeonholed yourself into the situation where you're going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb very handsomely. And I'm going to say potentially, we're talking about looking at him probably being the highest paid receiver in the league right now, if not top 2, because one thing you're going to have to do is pay up for production. Look at CeeDee Lamb since he came into the league. He continuously has improved on his numbers. We're talking about his rookie year, I believe, catching about 900 yards, 935 yards, 930 yards, something like that. And then we've seen a steady climb year after year after year, going from 1,100 yards to about 1,300 yards. Last season, over 1,700 yards. We're talking about a guy that was pushing that 2,000-yard barrier. To me, I'm going to say, once I guess the season changed, after the 49ers game, and we go into that San Diego, not the San Diego Chargers, the LA Chargers game, and where you start to see a little bit different of a philosophy, not necessarily a dink and dump and trying to just check down everything. I feel like we could have seen CeeDee Lamb touch 2,000 yards receiving last year. Think about how insane that is. We're talking about now a multi-time Pro Bowler, an all-pro receiver. This is a guy that deserves his pay. He has to get it. The last 2 seasons going over 100 catches. That is not anything to sneeze at because everyone can't do it. If everyone could, everyone would. And you can't say anything about the opportunities because this is a passing league. Everyone knows you're talking about getting the ball out, getting the ball to your best players. And what that puts on you, of course, you can say he has lots of opportunities. But there's something to say about a guy that is able to do this pretty much every single week. You know coverages are going to be faced towards you. You know the game plan is going to be on stopping CeeDee Lamb, stopping number 88. and the teams are still not finding the ability to get it done, that says a lot about the type of player that CeeDee Lamb is. He can play inside, he can play outside, he's versatile, and that should never be anything to scoff at. The versatility of a receiver, that's going to be able to open up much more, especially when you're adding in other guys. A guy I'm expecting to play, I guess I want to say have just a much bigger improvement in his game this year, Jalen Tolbert. I'm going to be looking at him to take that next step, because you can't go in here and counting on Brandon Cooks to be that number 2 fully every single game, because I want to say, we're talking about a youth movement at this point. The Cowboys brought another receiver this year in the 6th round, I believe, Ryan Flournoy, a guy very physical. He likens himself to a Dez Bryant. Again, I'm not sure if I see that completely, but he does have some of the aspects. I will give credit for that. He is a very physical guy. If the ball's in his range, he feels like it's his. That's going to be one of those that I'm sure Dak Prescott will fall in love with as training camp comes. But the Cowboys are going to have to solidify what this receiver position is. And to me, that's going to start with bringing in CeeDee Lamb. You could talk about Jake Ferguson, who is going to be, again, a guy I'm going to be looking to say personally, he might be a top 3, top 4 tight end, receiving tight end in this upcoming season. Do not completely write that off yet, because we saw the improvement Jake Ferguson made. But for the Cowboys to be the best product they can be, you have got to have CeeDee Lamb out there every single week as your number 1 guy. Get that job done. Get that deal done. Because we do know at the end of the day, we're talking about chemistry. This is the perfect time to be building that chemistry. Dak Prescott says himself, he has no issue with CeeDee Lamb missing the voluntary workouts right now, because at the end of the day, you have the player. You have to take care of yourself. Herm Edwards says this famously. The NFL is not a career. It's an opportunity. Everyone's one play away from it being their last play, unfortunately, but that's the truth. So as you can't really blame guys for wanting to take care of their bodies and being able to focus on their bodies, because at the end of the day, that's where he's going to make his money. But the Cowboys, if we're going to be where we need to be, you have got to get this CeeDee Lamb extension done, because you cannot let him hit the market, because there will definitely be some teams that will throw everything they have at him. Continuing this thing out, obviously, we're talking about some of the additions made during the draft. Maurice Luafau, a guy I'm going to be very excited to, because when you watch him on film, you see versatility. I'm going to liken him, I've said it already before, to DeMarvion Overshown, a guy we did not get to see in year 1 due to an ACL injury in the preseason. This is going to be a guy I'm going to say is going to be able to fly all over the field. He's going to fit in perfectly what I feel a Mike Zimmer defense is, because what Mike Zimmer is all about is intention and aggressiveness, and that's going to be the number 1 thing I think Luafau is going to bring to this team. Like I said, in addition to a guy we're looking at, DeMarvion Overshown, and also an Eric Kendricks, 32-year-old veteran we brought in, who has former history playing linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings with Mike Zimmer. So we're now going to be able to see this room start to get a little bit tighter. We're talking about from a competition aspect. Also throwing in the guy Damone Clark, a starter last season, who I feel he has more capability to play kind of that weak side backer. And this is going to be one of those guys when you're looking at him, he's going to have to improve majorly in this offseason, because you have seen so many guys been able to add to this room. Competition is the number 1 thing I think is going to always improve any position you're talking about, but just helping the top guys. If you know you have some fire behind you, you're going to have to know have to be on your best behavior. Handle pretty much the attention to detail. That's the number 1 thing I'm going to say. So adding in competition in the linebacker position is going to play major dividends. Also, looking at a guy I'm talking about that was brought in out of Wake Forest during this past draft, Kalen Carson, I believe it is, out of Wake Forest. The question kind of has been up in the air. Are the Cowboys looking to bring in a guy like Stephon Gilmore, a veteran who was with this team last year? I'm going to say when you're seeing what Kalen Carson can bring to this team, it's going to be very interesting, because we already know you have a Trayvon Diggs who returned from an ACL injury. But with Trayvon Diggs, we can get 85 to 90% of what Trayvon Diggs is in his first year back. We're still going to be in a great position, because DaRon Bland, he took his lumps overall throughout the season last year, but leading the league with, I believe, 9 interceptions, and now the NFL record, 5 pick sixes in one season DaRon Bland did last year. That's a guy that's going to be all around the ball. So you continue to make this cornerback room even more, I guess you want to say just add more competition the same way I said the linebacker position. You're going to find yourself in a good space, because the Cowboys have got to find athletes. When you're not paying players, and also when you're in a situation where now you're having some of your heavy lifters, those contracts are coming up at the same time. Talk about a Dak Prescott, a Micah Parsons is coming up, and then you're also talking about CeeDee Lamb, the same contract situation we're looking at with the CeeDee Lamb. You're now going to sometimes have to lean a little bit more to your younger talent and see some of these rookie contract guys are going to be able to come in and be major contributors in the first few years of their careers. Like I said, this is going to be very exciting to see once training camp rolls around. Stephon Gilmore, I don't think there has been any talks at this point. I believe a report came out yesterday that no deal deal is done, no deal is imminent or anything with a possible return of Stephon Gilmore returning to the Dallas Cowboys. Again, he was just a veteran presence in that room, and it was very unfortunate you didn't get to see Stephon Gilmore play the position and the role that I felt he was actually brought in for. It was obviously going to be able to play off of a guy like Trayvon Diggs and having DaRon Bland in the slot. Now we're looking at Trayvon Diggs possibly on one side, you're going to be looking at DaRon Bland on the other, and now it's going to be up in the air. Is a guy like Kalen Carson going to come in and actually give a push to a guy like Jordan Lewis, who had some nice stretches last year? Jordan Lewis is just a consummate professional. He's a guy, he's not necessarily going to always make the splashy play, but he can make some plays here and there, and he's going to be, as I'm going to say, more consistent than not. Again, just having that veteran experience. So it's going to be very interesting to see what exactly this cornerback room looks like going forward. Like I said, as we get through mini camp, as you get to start ramping yourself up towards training camp, and then of course the the preseason, and then regular season. So we'll see how exactly it's going to line up. But the Cowboys, we're always going to have things in the air, always going to have many things to talk about. I'm going to be here to do that just with you guys. I appreciate you for all the support. We've now passed 1,000 subscribers. The next goal is 2,000 subscribers. Let's continue to grow, build together, and continue to interact. I love seeing you guys' opinions, and I love kind of just, again, sometimes it's not even necessarily agreeing or disagreeing, but sometimes as a fan, we all seem to forget sometimes that we all want the same thing at the end of the day. We want the Cowboys to be hoisting that trophy at the end of the season over every other team in the league. So I appreciate you guys for all the support. Again, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and share. Keep on doing that. I appreciate you guys majorly. As always, go Cowboys, and enjoy the rest of your day.